Hello, friends. I just want to hop in and do a quick video critique here for you all. We have a lot of cool submissions, a lot of new stuff to talk about. So I just kind of wanted to get into it a little bit. So let's start with Cleber. You did a... I love this reference that you're doing for the next upcoming challenge. I do just want to I always like to point out a few different things. This is definitely a... this is a funny image. I've never seen this before, but it's Tom Cruise from Interview with the Vampire. One of the things that about this is just the way his face is standing out, and something that I would not necessarily recommend for you to do is that his skin is pretty cool toned and pretty undead feeling. I would like to. You might want to keep Desmond on his hero color. We've got these lights back here. You know, the light shining through the bat's wings is cool. This kind of warm light hitting his shoulder. This is why I was laughing at it, because there is a strange amount of focus on his groin area, like getting those shaping right. It's just like a little bit brighter than everything else around it. It's like, ugh, it's just funny. They're flagging in around his eyes here. And then they're just hinting at some light in the surrounding space too. So you may just want to throw some objects back there, just kind of hint at the surrounding space. But again, yeah, warm to cool, some shaping, obviously some almost like Rembrandt light on him there. Hitting up these golden shapes and really seeing the specularity hit, his shimmery hair, all that good stuff. So just some things to be aware of there. But I thought this was a fun reference, and it's a very 90s thing, and it just reminded me of my childhood. So, okay, Adrian, really love this reference that you found. I think that you are hitting it really well. I still think that we can go a little bit darker in the foreground, like maybe a little bit like down kind of in this region here. I think that kind of matches up a little bit less saturation, because once you kind of darken that down, you kind of lose the saturation a little bit. So kind of something in that region there I think would work out really well from where you had it before. But yeah, I think, but like, honestly, if you don't want to make those tweaks, don't feel like you have to. It's a very minor thing. It's just, the real point of this first assignment was just getting you used to looking at some reference, digesting it, and processing it into your own image, and you're doing a very good job of that. So I think that you're ready to move on to the next challenge. But if you want to continue to make adjustments, feel free. And if you want to take your time, feel free to do another one. It's always good to do that. So I think you're in a good spot there. So Dana, we've got 3 submissions here. Oh, actually, this is Eric. Sorry, Eric. We'll do yours. We'll do Dani, then we'll get into Dana, so that we can do that. So, okay, updated here. You were talking about this shadow being a little bit too hard. Yeah, I think we can probably soften it a little bit. I agree. It's not too bad though. I think you're in a pretty good spot there. The one thing that I really want to hit up the rim lights. And where was the other one? Oh, Dani, wait. Oh, I just closed that by mistake. Let me open that back up. There we go. There was another scene that we had. Yeah. So the one thing that I really want to point out is on this one, do you see how there's like these rim lights that are kind of almost like outlining the character and really kind of hitting them up? I would like to see you try and get that on these guys. So they're lit pretty frontally, but that is much more about like there's just bounce light coming up here, because all the light sources are back behind them, right? So all the light sources are coming from back here. They're coming from back over here. They're coming from like looking at their shadows. I guess there's one kind of coming this way. But like when this prominent of a shadow is striking here, I don't want to see a lot of these values on its front. I want to see the rims around him. And that's how I want to read that. So I want them to be darker with colorful rim lights around them. This spot, and I know, I think you can still go like a little softer. I really like this value in here, and I would just try and match to that. I really, really like this kind of halo you're getting around the character in the lighting. I think that's really successful. I think that's looking really cool. And then just watch out. There's something funky going on right here on the edge of her skirt. So just to be aware of that. But yeah, really kind of darkening the core of some of these characters and getting some rim light on there will really help you out. But I love like the color saturation you're getting on him. And then maybe, and I know this kind of goes against your reference a little bit, maybe let's just darken the floor down a little bit. Because it's just like there's a little bit too much attention down there. Maybe just darken that up just a touch more. Okay, so Dani, let's take a look here. Great improvement over the last iteration. This is really, really starting to come together. The biggest notes that I have for you are just watch out for the bright teeth there. We're getting a little bit of brightness here on the eye, just softening that down. The hands, let me demonstrate this. The hands could definitely go a little bit warmer. Let's see. Like you can still kind of fit into the color scheme, but you just don't want the hands to go too cool and too green. So you just kind of want to lighten those up a little bit. And I guess the same is kind of true. Let me check out the back of her neck here. Because I think go a little bit. Wondering if we can darken this down a little bit. My gut instinct was to actually, let's see if it works. My gut instinct was actually to make this cooler, like it was from like the cool surrounding light, but I'm afraid that's just gonna make her look sickly. Yeah, let's not do that. Let's see if this darkening helps at all. Yeah, do you see how this like helps focus us in back here and just allows this to get just like a little bit darker? So I would just kind of darken, and you can send it down to her back too. Just darken that a little bit. Maybe get a little bit more warmth in there, because that'll help. Yeah, to kind of get down into these values to really help us read the character here. Yeah, but other than that, I think the softness is looking good. I think everything's starting to come together well. So I think that's working out well. All right, Dana, so we've got 3 images here. Really cool stuff. I think that, love the shapes. I just think that in like this like wide range of area, we need a little bit more like variation either on the back wall here or more specifically in the ground, because we're getting the spots of like the disco light coming around there. But I just need a little bit more variation down there. But overall, the characters are looking fun. This is getting a little dark there, but overall, they're looking really nice. Like I said, the rims are working really successfully. I just think that we just need a little bit more variation in the set, and I think we're in a good spot there. For Mr. Bean, he is... Oh, for this one, for the shadow, I saw that you said that you were struggling with that a little bit. Just... There's a key light or something that you have coming in from this way that the radius is just too small. It might be an area light. If it's an area light, you want to increase the size of the area. In fact, I've got this scene open. Let me just show you this. So like, let's bring this into the window. Let's turn off these other lights just so they don't distract. Okay, so you've got this light kind of coming in from behind him here. And you can see, if the light that you're shining from there is an area light, if I make it really, really small, bring it closer, you can see that the shadow that gets created here is very, very sharp. In order to make it softer, I just need to make this bigger. And then the bigger it gets, the softer the shadow gets. So it's just a matter of making that bigger. If, on the other hand, you are using, a spotlight like this, and you can see the shadow here is very sharp. Let's go ahead and put this back. Yeah. So you can see his shadow on the wall there. Very, very sharp. If you're seeing that, the way to soften that would be to increase this radius value here. And you can kind of dial that in if you want it to just be like a little bit like that. Now, if you do this and maybe you're still seeing these edges, what that is the actual edge of the cone light. So you wanna adjust the penumbra and drop off to create a softer, like you can kind of see it here. If you look at this light shape, it's a good indicator of like a softening of like that, right? So now the edges are soft, the shadow itself is very soft. There's none of those harsh lines. So just be on the lookout for that. But the key is you have to identify which light is causing it. So just make sure that you get that. And then so the other big notes are just like his skin tone can still get a little bit warmer. He's getting like kind of this 5 o'clock shadow up underneath his chin. So you can really kind of hit him with like a little bit more of a frontal bounce light to kind of and use that to really kind of warm him up. In terms of skin tones, that's just, so again, a little more yellow, more red. There's more red. And then the biggest thing would just be lifting. Like, it's hard to do in this, but like just lifting the dark values up underneath his chin. Let's go ahead and take this off so you can kind of see. So I guess something roughly more in this realm, but again, like his chin still a little like dirty. And then the other thing with him that I found is that I had to, when I was doing my shot with him, his hair wants to get very mattely lit. So I try to keep it darker in the original render, and then I would just use a separate pass of reflection lights, of just like reflection cards and lights just hitting specular highlights on them. And then I put that in the comp just to give a little more shaping to his head. Because if you hit it with the same lights you're getting at him, it's just going to create these flat shapes up there. All right, last one. So we've got the toucan. Really excited for you to work with this one. There's some funkiness in the leaves, so like there's just some sharp shapes here. So let me know if that's something with the geometry, because this is a new artist that we're working with. But everything else is looking. But in terms of like the other parts of the asset are looking pretty good. You were struggling with the white fur. It's because it's hard, and that's totally fine. Like you're getting some blowouts here. It's also getting a little dark in this region here. But that's okay. The one thing that you really want to watch out for are these very, very bright blowouts. If you are rendering it as an EXR, you can tone those down in the comp or in Photoshop, which is probably how I would handle that or try handling that, because if you make it darker overall, you'll lose some of the nice bits that you're getting in some of the others. Now, from the reference to what we're seeing here, again, yeah, like just super brights in the white fur. The toucan beak can get a little less saturated. You can get, like, you see this little bit of like a specular sheen on the side there. You can try and hit that up a little bit stronger there, just to, because that really helps create some shaping and variation. In terms of the dark fur, you're just gonna want to see like a little bit of blue there and a little bit of blue back there. And you've got it here, and I would just like to see it kind of in a couple different spots, because you're close to having it just right. And then in terms of, yeah, the leaves could just use a little bit more work. And again, there's just like a lot of harsh shapes in there. So it may just be a bad light, but let me know, or doubled up geometry. But something is funky is going on in there, and just to take a look at that. And then in terms of, what's the other thing I was going to say? Oh, in terms of his I think you're doing a pretty good job with this here. I would just kind of move this up a little bit, and so it was kind of falls like right in there. And then I'm gonna keep going that way. And then I would add a little bit more bounce light up underneath these sticks, if you can. Just create a little bit more there. And then I would, once you're ready to start dialing this in, I would put a little bit of depth of field on some of these like leaves that back here that are kind of further away from them, just to make those feel like they're a part of the set too. And then I think you're in a good spot. So if anybody has any questions about the critiques tonight, you can let me know. Let me just double check, because I feel like there was a question at the end here. Okay, I couldn't find the question, but I did find... The question was basically somebody was asking about the number of lights they had in the scene. And the short answer is that you want to limit the number of lights that you have to the minimum that you can have to achieve the look that you want. Because the more lights you have, the more calculations, the longer the render takes, the more complications that you can have. So I'm a huge minimalist on that front. But I do know that sometimes in order to get the look that you want, you will need a bunch of lights. So I would say that you really want to, that you don't want to do a single light more than is absolutely necessary, and you must be in full control of them. Now, I remember at the shot I was looking at, 11 or 12, I think was the number. It felt like a little bit too much, but yeah, I'm not going to poo-poo anybody for having too many lights. I just think that you need to ask yourself and kind of go through each one individually and say, is this helping me achieve my final goal? Okay, so a couple here. We've got Mauro's, and I believe this is Dana's. Let me double check. So Mauro and Dana. Okay, cool. So let's go Dana's first. Okay. So for this one, a couple interesting things. I guess this is probably just a render artifact, but there is a weird line here at the bottom. Just a heads up on that one. I like the way that we're going with this. I just feel like this, the way that the Capitol building is starting to get some shaping. I think we need some more shaping across here. There's just something about it that makes it feel very flat. I don't know if it's the lack of windows or details, or just, you know what it is? There's just not a lot of variation in the colors. Like, it's all kind of one feeling. So I would look at some reference of Capitol building from a distance, and just seeing the way that looks, because I really just want to take this. I might create some more shaping. Or if it's white, maybe something like that. I'm looking down here. Don't pay attention to that. This is a tricky one. But we're missing out some of the dark values. Maybe I guess something a little bit more in there. A little less saturation. Just something like that to kind of get it to pop a little bit more would really help. And then in the foreground, there's a lot of contrast in some of these. So here's what I would try. Just do this for me, just as a favor. Could you, and I don't know how many lights you're using in this. Maybe this was the light question. But for this one, I really want to see how far we can get with just a key light. So just the sunlight kind of coming in here, and the sky ambient light that you're using. So could you do me a favor and just render one image of just your sunlight and another image of just your skylight? And I really kind of want to look into those, and I'll go ahead and comp those together and see on some values. But I think, because I don't know, maybe there's just a little bit too much other stuff going on, but I feel like we can simplify the look of this a little bit more now that we're really toning in and really dialing into the look of it. So last up we have Mauro here. We've got your reference. So much better coming into speed. I think you've overcranked the darkness a little bit back here. Because again, if you look at the reference, it's not quite that super dark, but I like where your head's at, and I like the adjustments that you made. This is a little bit saturated, but it's heading in the right direction. And it's a little bit bright because, you know, like if you look out here, I mean, that's pretty much like obliterated everything. And then this under here is very, very bright. But again, with the reference, this is a little more toned down, and you can still see the detail of some of the wood out there. And then if you can, I would just put like a cube or a cone or something over here just to kind of subtly hit some of the values that we're seeing right here in this guy. And maybe just like a couple cylinders back there, or a box or something here to kind of simulate that kind of stuff. So you can really get a good sense of approximating how the stuff falls back into space a little bit more. But this is much improved over the last version. Watch out for this is probably just the JPEG, but there's some banding in here. Watch out for that. And I believe you also had a question too. So let's see. I added a ceiling and some walls. I reduced the rim on the character, increased the value beyond the room. Any other suggestions? Yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, wait, here it is. I noticed I started to receive a lot of noise on the yellow lights bouncing around the room and the character. Yes. It's not too bad, but I think that you probably do need to either increase your samples. The other thing I would check is to make sure that whatever light is out here and whatever lights that you have, that they're not penetrating any of the geometry, because that will cause a lot of noise too. So for Mauro and Dani, sorry I almost missed you guys. Hopefully you get to this by the end. But great work, everybody. Keep going, keep posting, and hopefully I'll get the opportunity to do some more critiquing tomorrow. All right, be good. Have a good night, everybody.